In the aftermath of the battle, the land of Erinda lay in a fragile silence. The fields, once soaked with the blood of heroes and villains alike, were now dotted with the ruins of villages and the remnants of war. But beneath the ashes of the old world, the seeds of hope had been planted. The Phoenix's fire had not only destroyed the darkness, but had also begun the work of healing the world itself. The skies cleared, and the sun shone brighter than it had in years, as though the heavens themselves were giving their blessing to the rebirth of the land. Dorian Ardent stood at the edge of the battlefield, his eyes scanning the horizon. His body still radiated the warmth of the Phoenix's flame, but it was a gentler glow now, a light of peace rather than of battle. The once deadened earth was stirring again, the first signs of life returning to the barren fields. Birds flew overhead, and wildflowers began to bloom where once there had only been desolation. Seraphine, now more than ever, felt the weight of her role as queen. She had witnessed the destruction of her kingdom, but now she was determined to rebuild it stronger than before. The Phoenixes asked with Dorian at her side. She knew that together they could restore Erinda to its former glory, but also make it a place of unity, where the scars of the past would not divide its people. The Phoenix's rebirth had shown them that there was no force more powerful than the will to rise from the ashes. Ent, Rebirth of the Forgotten. Though victory had been achieved, the cost was steep. As the people of Solara began to rebuild their homes and their lives, Dorian could not escape the haunting memories of the lives lost in the battle. Varek's face lingered in his mind, his words still echoing in his heart. He had slain a friend, a brother in arms, and the guilt weighed heavily on him, even as he stood at the Queen's side. Dorian. Seraphine's voice cut through his thoughts. She approached him, her eyes filled with understanding. I know what you're carrying inside. The burden of loss is not one you bear alone. We all carry it. He looked at her, his heart heavy but grateful for her words. She was a queen, a symbol of strength, yet in this moment, she was his closest companion. I know, he replied softly, but the shadows of the past still haunt me. Then we will walk through the light together, she said, her hand gently touching his arm. The Phoenix has risen. So shall we. Their bond had deepened in ways neither could have foreseen. The love they shared was no longer the quiet longing of a knight for his queen. It was a bond forged in the crucible of battle, tempered by sacrifice, and sealed by the shared vision of a brighter future for their people. But not all was well in the land. The victory over Zaratha had not only broken the physical forces of darkness, but had also shattered the fragile balance that had held the kingdoms together. Though peace reigned for the moment, the scars of war had created divisions that would take time to heal. The lands of Erinda were divided, and new conflicts were already beginning to emerge, as old rivalries resurfaced and new power struggles took root. While the Phoenix had defeated Zaratha, the Legion of Dusk had not been completely vanquished. Like shadows, the remnants of the Dark Army scattered to the far corners of the land. They were not without a leader. A new figure, one cloaked in mystery and darkness, emerged to rally the broken forces of Zaratha's followers. Erindarith, a sorcerer whose origins were shrouded in secrecy, was said to have been a former disciple of Zaratha, one who had hidden in the shadows until the right moment to strike. Erindarith's presence was felt like a creeping fog, a reminder that peace was never permanent in a world so steeped in magic and ambition. He began to rally the remnants of the Legion, whispering promises of power and revenge against those who had destroyed Zaratha. His dark influence spread across the land, seeding unrest in the minds of the oppressed. Dorian and Seraphine knew that the shadow of war had not truly been banished. Erindareth's forces were gathering, and it would not be long before the next battle began. The world that had barely emerged from one war was now on the brink of another. To prepare for the coming threat, Dorian and Seraphine set forth on a new quest, one that would take them deep into the heart of the ancient world. Legends spoke of an ancient artifact, the crown of the elements, a mystical object of unimaginable power that could either grant its wielder dominion over all the forces of nature or destroy the very fabric of magic itself. The journey was fraught with danger. Dorian, Seraphine, and their companions ventured through forgotten tombs beneath the earth, navigated ancient forests filled with creatures older than the kingdoms themselves, and traversed lands where time itself seemed to warp. The search for the crown was as much a test of their unity and resolve as it was a physical journey. And as they ventured deeper into the unknown, they discovered not only the crown's power, but also the dark truths about the forces that had shaped Erindar's past. In the heart of the lost city of Arethys, they found the crown, a beautiful, shimmering artifact forged from the elements themselves, yet surrounded by a dangerous aura. The moment Seraphine reached for it, the air itself seemed to crackle with magic, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. But as they prepared to leave with the artifact, Erindareth struck. His forces, concealed in shadows, ambushed them, forcing a desperate battle through the ancient city's ruins. Magic clashed in a furious storm of light and dark. Seraphine and Dorian fought side by side, their bond and strength in each other's arms making them unstoppable. But as the battle raged, Erindareth's power grew, threatening to overwhelm them all. In a final act of sacrifice, Dorian realized the true purpose of the crown. It was not a weapon to wield, but a force that required the wielder to give up their own essence to stabilize the balance of magic. Understanding the magnitude of the choice before him, Dorian took the crown in his hands, its fiery magic surging through him. With a cry that shook the very heavens, Dorian channeled the power of the crown and the phoenix's flame into the earth itself. The explosion of light and energy sent Erindareth's forces fleeing into the shadows, vanquishing the dark sorcerer and his army. When the light faded, Dorian lay on the ground, his body weakened but his heart at peace. The magic of the crown had fused with him, but it had come at a terrible cost. He had given up his own immortality. The phoenix's essence now a part of the land, not just of him. He would live, but no longer as the fiery phoenix reborn. Instead, he would live as the man who had saved Erindar, his legacy written in the scars of battle and the hope of a new world. Seraphine knelt beside him, her tears mingling with the dust of the earth. "You've done it," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You've saved us all." Dorian smiled weakly, his hand reaching for hers. "We did it," he replied, the strength of their shared love giving him the strength to face the end of his journey. Together. And as the sun rose over Erindar once more, the kingdom began its true rebirth, no longer a land torn by war, but a place where peace, forged in the flames of sacrifice, would endure. The phoenix had ascended, not in fire alone, but in the hearts of those who fought for a future brighter than any flame.